Salutation shades, and welcome back to your one-stop shop for all things strange and unusual, talking with shadows. The conversation everyone has, but no one wants to admit to. Here with your host, Vic Whaley.
And Marcus D. And we are back after my self-inflicted timeout of parenting. Finally able to get back into the studio to record another great episode for you guys. Really excited to be back. I've been chomping at the bit to be able to get in here and to do another episode for you guys. I'm super excited about this today.
I also have some good news to share. Mm-hmm. For those of you who have been to some of the meetups and hangouts that we've had on Discord for the patrons, so you guys know that I've taken up boxing. And I am going to be competing in the Golden Gloves in March here in Indiana.
And I'm going to be there in the front row going, knock him out! Knock him out! Of course, talking to your opponent.
I knew you'd be there to root against me. I knew that would be a thing. Man.
No, I had a friend that passed away during COVID that would come watch, that wanted to come watch me do comedy. But he always talked about the reason he wanted to come watch comics was not to see them do well, but to see them bomb terribly. And he was super excited to just come watch me. I know, right? He's like, I'm gonna come see you, Marcus. I'll be in the front row. I'm like, I don't want you to come because you're trying to put a curse on me. That is not happening. That is not happening.
But yet you want to do that to me.
No, well, maybe just a little. It's a little funnier because of the violence.
It's okay. It's okay. I do better when I'm behind the rock.
You were there for my very first attempt at doing comedy, and that's what I would call it. That's what I would call it.
It was a noble effort.
Yes, it was definitely doing comedy, not necessarily doing comedy well, but come on, practice makes perfect. So, yeah. Or practice makes you get knocked out. We'll see in front of a crowd of people. We'll see.
Okay, so comments from our last episode.
No, drinks, because I'm thirsty.
Drinks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, bust out the drink.
We're drinking some very impressive stuff because we are recording this in the morning, and we don't want to be drunk in the morning.
Yes, I have to drive my daughter, so I cannot be partaking in alcohol just at this exact moment. But I am going to be drinking a drink that I accidentally purchased, a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry.
That sounds freaking awesome. How do you accidentally buy that?
I was at the store and I picked one of these up and did not realize what it was.
I am drinking a Cherry Coke Zero and a Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee.
It looks like ginger ale.
Does it taste like ginger ale? Mine just tastes like awesome and cherry.
It tastes like bad ginger ale. And then cranberry comes in to save the day, right at the very end. That's what it does.
Man, I love cranberry. Cranberry's one of my favorites.
It's like, I got you, buddy. I'm gonna save from this terrible ginger ale. All right, if you did not check out our last episode, it was one of my favorite that I've done so far for this year. We did an episode on Megalodon, an underwater cryptid/real creature, whether none of it's still existing today. So definitely go over and check that out.
Cryptid in the sense that it did definitely once upon a time exist, and maybe does still exist. Unlike Mothman, which we have no flipping clue.
Yeah, we're not 100% sure. So that's the best way to categorize it. Just megafauna, that might still be around. Patrons, Sarah, OG patron, by the way. Still remember that. Orcas are out there taking out yachts, being problems money can't solve. They could definitely take out a Megalodon.
Yeah, I actually feel like that they would really screw up and drive them out of any range the Megalodon would be in.
Yeah, and I know what she's talking about, taking out the yachts, because I don't remember if we actually said it in the episodes or not, but I know that there were some orcas, I want to say, outside of Spain that have been just harassing large boats.
Yeah, orcas have really interesting behavior. They're not always straight up aggressive towards humans, which is weird because they're pretty much straight up aggressive towards everything else.
Yeah.
But they definitely can be very aggressive towards humans, and their ability to socialize and work as a team make them exceptionally dangerous.
Yeah. And never believe the myth that there's never been a recorded attack on a human by an orca, because there absolutely have. There absolutely have been. There's a reason why they're called killer whales. Just saying.
I'm just saying they often tend towards being
true.
like so. Okay, they're never sociable to anything pretty much except for each other and occasionally humans.
Right. Elizabeth Siebert says, thanks for mentioning that stupid Discovery Channel doc they made. So many of them, it's annoying, especially the dragon one that they made. Oh, that's a good one too. Man, they always ruin just everything. They ruin everything in the paranormal.
I did enjoy the dragon one, but only because, like, I was very aware that this was a mockumentary.
Right.
Like, I felt like on that one, at least, like, in the circles I ran in, we were all talking about before it came out, and we all knew ahead of time that it was going to be, like, a what-if series.
unlike the mermaid one, which got a lot of
I watched, like, some of it, and I'm like, shortly into it, I'm like, no way. There's no flipping way.
I Am Sfeel says, thank you. Someone else agrees with me that people shouldn't be in the ocean. Also, what I have to say is, it's not shark-infested water. It's where they're supposed to be.
Okay, that's true. That is exactly where they're supposed to be. But why avoid the ocean? I love the ocean.
If humans were meant to be in the water, we'd have gills and flippers. Okay? I'm just saying.
We already have a skin more similar to aquatic mammals than we do terrestrial
Have you
mammals.
never seen, like, those videos on YouTube where it's like, what would happen if you stayed for 48 hours in the ocean?
More similar, not exactly the same.
You would, like, turn into a California raisin.
Yes. I have been in water long enough to prune before. I was on the swim team.
I said 48 hours. That's like it is just bad news. It is bad news, Barry. Like, you're gonna turn into a situation where, like, orcas are gonna become attracted and come eat you now. That's what's gonna happen.
Because they're out there hunting for things that look like raisins.
Yes. And I have. Don't
California
question
raisins, the natural prey of the killer whale.
We also just showed our age there by mentioning the California raisins.
I only vaguely recall what they were.
Our entire fan base of 20-year-olds is now having to Google right now, what are the California raisins?
I'll save you all some time. They were used to try to sell people on eating raisins. They were like raisins with arms and legs and faces, like oddly detailed faces, like creepily kind of cursed detailed faces. And I think they played jazz, maybe? Was it jazz?
Yeah, they played jazz music and musical instruments. And
there's 100% of what I know about them.
Yeah, and they were the cutting edge of some of the cutting edge technology of claymation at the time. Whenever they came out, it was like Wallace and Gromit, Gumby, and the California Raisins. Like that was it, leading claymation. We have them to thank for Nightmare Before Christmas for why that movie is a why that movie is a masterpiece.
Thank you, California Raisins.
Okay, and of course, Avis Rex, I'm going to mention your comment because you had reached out to me about this. Megalodon being alive is a pet peeve of mine for years. It's like the Rickroll of the possibly not extinct group of cryptids. That said, some great whites have been found larger and recorded, and according to the fossil record, they actually replaced the bigger sharks as well. Populations changed and migrations changed. The Meg got out competed and starved out. Love you too, as you know. This is one hill I'd croak on.
Wait. Did I just get a agreement from Avis Rex, who definitely knows way more about paleontology than me? Was my theory validated?
No.
This sounds like a validation from Avis Rex, who knows way more about paleontology than me. I'm taking this as a W. A big W.
No, I'm just saying, I think this is one of those examples in which I think these smarty pantses in the room don't know what they're talking about. Because as we all lay people know, there are giant, massive 30-foot sharks swimming in the ocean, waiting to get you the second you put any toes in the water.
That is psychopathic.
Right there. They are waiting to get you.
I'll never understand your fear of the ocean.
It is just, I tell people that I'm a shark attack survivor. Because I have never been in the ocean.
Never been attacked by a shark. Yeah, no, I normally would let you finish your joke, but it's not the first time you've done this joke on the channel.
I know. I've turned into a dad, so I'm just repeating my dad jokes over and over.
Okay.
So this was funny. So right about the time that we were deciding to do another episode, my daughter had started telling me that she was getting scared to sleep by herself at night. And she did. And I said, well, what's got you scared? And she goes, monsters. And I said, well, what kind of monsters? And she goes, bears. She's like, I'm like, baby, there are no bears in Evansville. That is not the monsters you need to worry about. So then we decided to make an episode of the monsters you should be scared of in the state of Indiana because they might be here.
You also, wait, did you take the time to explain that bears are like real and not monsters?
She wouldn't understand the
Show her a bear documentary.
Like that bears are okay.
No, well, sure, yeah, for the most part they're okay.
Oh no, I know what I'll show her. I'll show like when grizzlies attack. Come on, like no, like. I'm not saying that bears is an irrational fear. Okay,
do that and enjoy like checking under her bed for bears the rest of your life.
No, so I said, baby, you don't need to be scared of bears. But there are some monsters here in Indiana that you probably do need to be scared of because there are probably some really out there. No, I did not tell her that, but
okay.
For it. I thought it was
Which
funny.
Which is what we're talking about today. We're talking about some obscure Indiana cryptids. And I am excited about it.
There are a whole bunch of like really cool like cryptids like in the state of Indiana that most people just are not aware of. Now, if you've known in the past, we've done a couple of the big ones. Like we've done the Beast of Busco, the Crawfordsville Monster, and the Green Club Beast.
Yeah, and a few others.
Well, yeah,
I think.
Well, I said like the big ones.
Yeah.
Like I think if you asked like the layperson in the paranormal about cryptids in the state of Indiana, one of those three are probably gonna get mentioned. I mean, like I said, we throw a festival every year for the Beast of Busco, for that
which
giant
is really
turtle,
cool.
which is cool. So like I guess I'll start with one that I really thought was kind of interesting.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Yeah, the Bremen Troll Bridge. The Bremen Troll or the Troll of Bremen, if you want to call it. I've also heard the Troll of Little Egypt. Like this particular cryptid has a whole bunch of just different names.
Oh yeah, I went down a big rabbit hole on this thing maybe like 10 years ago in my personal research. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you all this. Back then, it was a real shallow rabbit hole, and I couldn't make any headway. So when you wanted to talk about it today, I got super excited.
Well, it stuck out to me because how many times have we done like haunted bridges or other types of cryptids, and you run into usually one of three types of typical cryptids. You run into a Bigfoot type monster, some sort of plesiosaur type monster, or you'll see like a black dog, type monster. Yeah. And so, something that's like there's like a legit troll might be under a bridge. I thought like this is definitely one that stands out to me.
I've always wanted to go there, but it's like, okay, I know I live in Indiana, but we live in the most southern part of Indiana, and it is way up north. Yeah, it is a drive.
Yeah, it's up in Marshall County, which is like just one county away from Michigan. It's almost about as far away from us as you can typically get. Like, we watched, we're way down here and it's way up there. And so this is a bridge that is over the Yellow River up there in Marshall County, and supposedly this 7 to 8 foot tall troll lives under this bridge. And the story goes, if you drive your car over the bridge, turn your car off, supposedly there's all sorts of stuff where the troll will come out, it'll chase your car, it'll mess your car up, it'll throw stuff at you, yell at you, all these other sorts of things. Can you name another famous troll that's just living under a bridge, like story?
In modern day?
Yeah. See,
no.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why this one's that's what I'm saying. Like, we've done a lot of particular haunted haunted bridges, and, there's Goatman type, Goatman stories, and other ones with just ghosts and specters and all sorts of other spooks and stuff that are out there. And this one just seems to just be a very unique thing that I didn't know of another one.
Okay. Back when I had researched this a long time ago, as far as descriptions of what it looked like outside of being tall were very hard for me to find. Were you able to find anything past that?
No, I didn't. Just that they were supposed to be really big, and people said they did. But what I did find, what I think was helpful when I was looking at this, was if you type this in and I really like doing this on scripts because this is always something that really annoys me. Whenever I like look up a video on YouTube or I watch somebody talking about a particular type of cryptid, they're always typically just reading a cryptid wiki or the Wikipedia word for word. Like they'll spice it up, but I can tell specifically that they're doing this. So what I like to do, and I think that's helpful when I see this, is any place that has comments, because when you start reading these comments, you really start to see some additional things, and it might even explain why, particularly, that we might not be having as many sightings of the troll as you think.
Really?
Yes, because there was multiple times in which people were commenting that live in that particular area or that had been up there, and they talked about having bizarre encounters. There were multiple people that talked about getting grievously injured being up there. Like one particular individual that said that they had gotten out of their car, and the next thing they know, they felt this incredible pressure on their wrist, and their wrist was broken.
Like, did they see something reach out?
No, they didn't. It was like this invisible force that grabbed them and did this. And that's another element too, another part of the story. There's another one where it was like a group of like 6 or 7 people that had gone out there and they were messing around and they didn't see anything. They don't know what was going on. And the next thing they know, one of them got pushed incredibly hard, not off the bridge or anything like that, but they got pushed really hard with enough force that it cracked ribs.
Oh, that's something I've learned a bit about lately. And cracking ribs is not exactly... You can't do it with a small amount of force. Like, right. I've taken a lot of body blows over the last few months, and nothing's got near to cracking a rib. You got to hit something pretty damn hard to actually crack them.
Yeah. And I found that really interesting because that's really not, like, maybe the wrist one, I think I've heard of some, like, either shadow people stories or some, like, poltergeist stories or something, like, maybe that aggressive, but, like, definitely not somebody who was just shoved so hard that it broke ribs, because that's not an easy thing to do from just a standing position.
This brings up 2 initial thoughts of mine. Mm-hmm. The first one is bridges being liminal spaces, and they seem to draw strange and unusual behavior in general. Like tons of even if I'm just talking about within like an hour drive of where we're standing right now. I can think easily of about 6 haunted bridges. It's just a real common thing, and we have a lot of bridges here in Indiana. Right. So it could be a liminal connection. The other thing is I'm dredging up some obscure Scandinavian and like English folklore here. But I want to say I have read connections of trolls and curses. And the curses are always like these vague misfortunes. So there also could be a connection somewhere in that area. Because like I really want to say that there is a connection between trolls and curses. It's just like I don't recall it off the top of my head any specific details about it. Just that like this connection exists somewhere within my brain.
Yeah, and so it was just something that was, and one of the things too, and I'm gonna give this as a criticism for the legend, because I think when you're looking at a legend, I try to look at some inconsistencies, and so one of the elements of people claiming that they were running into something when they were out there was individuals saying that like it'll throw rocks at you or it'll hurl something at you. So one of the things that I found that seemed to be absent, though, from a lot of stories. Don't worry, I'm going to bring back one that's going to tie this in. I'm going to tie this in the end. But you would think that if it involves your car and it's hurtling stuff, that you would see a lot more instances of people describing their car being particularly damaged. Because, I mean, if you've ever driven behind a car that has like a rock that's going 30 miles an hour or something like that, I mean, we end up cracking our windows. It's not that difficult for that to do. I also had another particular, but there was another instance though, because I know of people, they stopped their car and then there was a very loud whack thing that they felt, and their car shook whenever the car was there. Like it was with enough force that it caused it to move.
But it was more like a whack than a thud. It wasn't like a rock. It was full pushing it.
It was full something that like actually just broke, just had hit the car and caused it to move.
Okay, so like this is starting to take on either it's very stealthy, which yeah, sure, maybe, or some apparitional vibes. My other thought is to kind of back up your thing. Usually, like with rocks, if it's sticking around the river, it's usually like around here when you look under a bridge, you don't see small rocks. It's either mud or it's big rocks. Now, I don't know what the bank of this specific river is like.
I do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, go.
So there's a really cool video by Forrest DePoy back from 2014 where they went out. It was a videographer that they went out to look at, actually like take a look at the bridge. That was something I was curious about. I'm like, how many stories of people looking under this damn bridge? And if you look under it, it's not that. I mean, it looks like something that a homeless person might sleep under, but it's not like something that a 7-8 foot tall person would like comfortably live under. Like, my favorite part of it was when they looked down there, goes, look what we found under the bridge, and they pointed down there, and there's a beaver dam.
The clever troll has transformed into a beaver dam during the day.
That's how it hides.
Trolls are very clever.
That's true.
When they're assuming they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, no one's ever gonna figure this out. Make them think that there's a beaver living under here.
But like, yeah, like kind of going to one of the things you brought up was something that I had concluded in my research years ago as being a likely possibility, was that there could just be like a tallish homeless person living under the bridge.
Yeah.
Like some of the accounts that I had found like had alluded to it being hairy, but like at the same time, humans can be hairy. We sometimes wear clothes that can look hairy. And yes, 7-8 feet tall is on a pretty extreme for a human, but like I mean, both me and you we're above 6 feet, and I know people like misestimate my height all the time.
Yeah.
So
humans are bad. Humans are very bad at that. And I think people oftentimes too forget that like homeless people do live in the country. Like there are people in the country that are homeless, and if you're gonna like stay somewhere, I probably under a bridge might not be the worst place to do it.
Yeah, but one of the other things I'll say is in the country, homeless people usually don't stick around for a long period of time.
That's also
because there's a lack of resources available for them in the country. There's not a lot of orgs out there that are going to kind of help them out. That's usually why they tend to migrate towards cities. And also, like, if you're going to Panhandle or something, you want an area with higher traffic, also a city. So I would doubt... It would at least be uncommon for a aggressive homeless person who's aggressive enough to be throwing rocks at cars and things like that to be existing under a country bridge for long enough for it to cement into an element of folklore. That part seems unusual for me. Mm-hmm. Unless this is something that happened and the folklore evolved abnormally quickly, or for some reason he did maintain in that area for a long period of time. But the thing is, like, if you're a homeless person living under a bridge throwing rocks at cars, and people are talking about someone being there throwing rocks in cars, either the police are going to show up and chase you off, or you're going to have to move on to greener pastures. I just don't... That's my one big issue with it, is that, like, it just doesn't seem like it would exist realistically long enough to create folklore.
So, some of the stuff that I thought that was really interesting, though, about this particular area is we've always talked a lot too about how there's some bizarre occult-like practices that sometimes go down within rural communities.
Yeah.
And so there was two...
Actually, we'll be getting into some of that on the stuff I'm talking about.
So there's two really interesting things that I noticed. So in Forrest's video that he posted in 2014 when he went out there and then come up to this bridge, I was really interested in the video because one of the things I like the graffiti you see in a lot of these places.
That is very important to examine occultic graffiti. That's one of the things I always look for.
I didn't see any on there that I saw other than, I didn't really see any, but what was really weird was there were these two animal skulls that, and they were kind of like suspiciously clean. I mean, I don't know, it's not like they were like, red and had like muscle stuff on there, but it was two like small animal heads that were like just resting on the guardrail by there.
Really?
Yeah. Like, one looked small, like it may have been a chipmunk. One looked a little bit bigger, might have been like a raccoon or something, maybe a possum or something like that. Looked like it was like slightly bigger than that. But it was definitely a small squirrel, chipmunk, rabbit, like something like that sort of small. And then there was a slightly bigger animal that they had that was resting there.
Was the animal also basically bone?
It was just the two skulls.
Okay, so it's just like two skulls, both of them relatively clean.
Yep.
That seems really odd to me. I'm halfway tempted to run upstairs and get Ellie, who knows a fair amount about taxidermy.
Mm-hmm. And then there was
to pester about it. Maybe we'll say that for the patron segment.
Yeah, and there was another comment where somebody was from the area that was talking, because another thing too, I'm like, why? Because a lot of people for some reason just get hyper focused on the concept of this thing maybe living under the bridge when there's a slightly wooded-ish area like that's visible from there. It's not like huge or maybe, but it's not, I don't think it's big enough for something to hide in. But somebody in the comment section and another blog that was posting the story was talking about that they were out there in that particular area around the turn, and one of the things that they saw was somebody had hung chicken bones dangling from a tree branch in that area.
That's really interesting. Okay. Before we go any further, I want to throw out.
I told you. I'm telling. The comment section can add some really weird stuff.
Okay.
I got more. I'm telling you.
But no, I want to get into it. But I want to throw out a few things first.
Yeah.
A lot of this is setting me up with a lot of memories of stuff I recall.
Yeah.
The first thing I want to talk about is one that did occur in a liminal space associated with a cryptid. I was out and I visited this area a few times because it's one of my favorite nearby paranormal spots to visit. And I know some of you who are veterans of the channel might have heard this story before. I was in Brazil, Indiana, looking for the Barge of Brazil, Indiana. It's on this specific road. So it's me, Ellie's with me, Adam Mathers is with me, and then one other person is with me. It's, if I recall correctly, October. It's cold as heck. It's kind of late October. And we're driving down the road that it's supposed to be on, and we're getting ready to kind of do like the little flash your lights ritual to make the Bargeist appear. We're driving along, and then we hear this sound from under the car. And we're like, okay, something might have just went very wrong. We have no clue what the heck that was. We didn't hit anything. So I get out to check the tires. I grab my flashlight because, I'm a paranormal investigator, and I'm not too dumb to carry a flashlight. Always carry flashlights with you. So I'm looking at the tires. Everything seems okay. I give them a thorough look over. I'm not like the greatest at checking tires, but I can tell if one's flat or not. So it seems to be fine, and I look up from like the tires to the fence that's literally right across from where like we heard this sound and we're on the road for the Bargeist. And there's no kidding, a freaking corpse of a dog, heavily decayed but not cleaned yet, split along the rib cage and just hung up on the fence, not probably 10 feet, maybe 15 feet from where I'm standing, where we heard this weird sound that caused me to get out of the car. And and it's a slightly brushy area, so we would not have seen this if not for that. It's just another case of weirdly presented carrion. Boom, right there. And I just called for everyone to get out of the car and come see the craziness I just found. And I think there has to be a connection to this is a place where Bargeists are sighted, and there's a dead dog hanging on display. And there's no way the dog corpse just ended up there. It's not like a car had hit it and it landed there. It was clearly set up in that position. And I have no explanation of this behavior beyond this, except for maybe it's someone taking a swing at medieval magic called a patripaism, where you either, and I know this is going to sound confusing, there's two sides of the patripaic coin. There's like repels like. You take a dog, you sacrifice it in an area to drive off a more spiritual or monstrous dog. Mm-hmm. There's also the other side of the coin where it's like attracts like, where you do the same thing and the goal is to summon it. Now, I know it doesn't make sense, but it's medieval magic. It doesn't always make a whole lot of sense. But, like, there's no other signs of occultism in the area, so I can't say that that's what was going on. But the whole encounter was very weird, but also somewhat reminiscent of what we're talking about. Like, so it's still in the area of Indiana. The other thought is there was sometimes some weird occulty stuff going on in the woods where I grew up. And sometimes you'd run into like some odd things. Sometimes you'd run into like bones hanging in trees, parts of animals nailed onto trees.
Sure.
Skulls hanging from tree branches of deer and stuff like that, which I know you can use to dry, but when you're in the middle of nowhere and you find a whole tree of them, someone's not coming back for those, or they're killing like 40 deer,
right?
Which is over the limit.
40 deer, too many.
Yeah, like some
of
it was clearly ritualistic.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Bargeist, large black dogs, that was another comment story somebody was talking about.
What? Tell me more.
So remember, because when we were talking about setting up this story, there's also not only the bridge, but like not like a mile or so, like not too far from there, there's supposedly like a haunted cemetery. So there's a whole bunch of weird paranormal stuff that goes on between the cemetery to the bridge. And one time someone was talking particularly about the time they were driving down that particular road, coming around the corner, and out from the woods, a giant black dog jumped out and like ran its body into the back part of their car.
Troll dog.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, that is actually very common Bargeist along the road behavior. It's also similar to what we've heard of other sort of like just large, bizarre dogs.
Yeah.
About like just that, which seems odd. Like it doesn't seem like regular behavior, but no, it's definitely not the first time I've heard of a Bargeist behaving in this way.
And so one of the interesting things too that I also discovered from people that were commenting that lived particularly in the area or that had been out there, was they also were out to the bridge, into the cemetery too within that road. They talk a lot about how that they get chased by cars, mysterious cars that literally will come, and I don't mean like the times that we've been out to Dogtown and people like roll up flasher lights, they'll follow you. I mean like coming up behind your bumper.
So this is like more intense than Dogtown.
Yeah, like coming up behind your bumper, trying to like rear end the back of their car, chasing them around until they leave and they leave the area. You know, and there was multiple different types of cars that they talked about. This a lot of SUVs, which I think would be weird because I think if there's, which by the way, something that you don't typically see, by the way, in real rural America is a bunch of guys driving SUVs. By the way, like country guys driving SUVs. Typically, I'm gonna see a truck if I'm.
My dad had an SUV.
I'm just a truck. I'm just maybe both, but I'm just saying, like when we were followed the one time, it was by a truck.
Yeah, we've been followed by trucks and cars out there. I don't want to sign my life onto this fake contract here, but like I don't recall it ever being an SUV, but I don't want to say it never was.
But anyway, like if it was just people but there was a lot of stories about people being followed when they come up to the bridge and being chased out of the area. Now, granted, you could probably chop this off to locals, like it's still Kansas, not wanting people to be around, or trying to run them off.
No, this is more intense. Okay, the stuff that we deal with out in Dogtown, with people like trying to pull us over, flashing lights at us, and then when we do stop, because we're not savages. Someone tries to
I'm not stopping the car.
Oh, I totally have.
This
have you never been on an investigation out there where we actually pulled over when
someone? No, Ellie did, and I was freaking out in the back seat, going, "Why are we stopping the car?"
Well, who knows? They could be someone in trouble. But either way, like there's
then we become the ones in trouble.
Okay, let me change the way we say it. There have been times where these people were acting erratic out there, and we did pull over to see what was going on. And when they do, they just straight up like lie to us and tell us weird stuff. Yeah. And it's always tough to get us to leave the area.
Yeah.
But that's pretty bizarre, and that's pretty borderline on the behavior of what's not okay. But once you get into like we're being like dangerous drivers and stuff. No, that is past the point of we are a country community and we just don't want you here. This is going into like crazy ass behavior.
Yeah.
Like I grew up way out in the sticks. And like I'm from Hayden. There's like almost no one in Hayden. It's a small isolated community. And someone acting like that would be considered easily unacceptable behavior.
Well,
like, easily.
But you would also, doing that sort of thing, you would also probably more than likely recognize the person that's doing it.
Yeah, there's a good chance. Like, you know what everyone drives in a small community.
And that's always something interesting that I found about this is because you typically tend to know most people when you live in a small town, or you typically live in an area. And so, it's more likely to be able to recognize your car. And it's always funny. I never see stories of people being able to they know that they recognize the person doing this. I just thought that was particularly interesting.
Yeah, I'm assuming most of these encounters are happening at night.
Yep.
So we have bargeist behavior, some things that could be pseudo-occultic. We have
one for the end.
We have weird behavior from locals, and we have a troll along with some apparitional behavior.
Yeah.
And this is all within a small area around the bridge.
Yep.
This is getting
a mile.
Very interesting.
You ready for the weirdest one?
I'm ready. I have made my body ready for this.
Now, outside of just other typical stuff that you can find, particularly in this area, I mean, we could dive deep into it, but I mean, we've only gone a little bit until the Patriots section. I want to get your thoughts on this. I mean, also in this area, there's a giant shadow person story that I ran across.
Wait, like the giant stickman?
Yeah. Not stickman, but like giant shadow person type story.
The black stickmen are basically just giant shadow people.
Yeah. So correct, yes. Seeing that, there's also a similar black Annie, with like a white specter that'll run in front of your car. That you run into orbs at the cemetery. So this is all a bunch. Again, this is just all stuff that.
So this is a zone of high strangeness at this point.
All of that's there as well. And then finally, I came across one really weird encounter somebody had. So, what's something that also trolls are known for being able to do? Like they could sniff out.
Christians.
Yes.
They can smell the blood of Christians.
Very weird. I know. And
no, not really. If you look at what was going on in the time period when that myth evolved, that part of the myth doesn't exist in early troll lore for what little we know of it. But it evolved later and reflected these social problems of the day.
I'm going to pose a theory too. What if the troll itself is not trying to throw rocks or be aggressive to people as a means of being mean, but instead to warn people about something?
Interesting. Okay.
Because there was another interesting thing that I saw that when somebody was had when they were out there and encountered that they ran into. They were out there one night by the bridge and by that particular area. And they were driving on the road, and they didn't see anything like paranormal. Well, paranormal, true, but what they ran into was a bunch of people in white coats and white hoods walking with a cross out into the cornfields.
Oh, holy shit!
Yeah.
Wait, so there's also KKK activity there?
Yeah, out in the area.
Oh, holy crud. The worst types.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It's getting deep.
Okay,
so and then, I tell people all the time, man, it's not something our state's particularly proud of, but it is definitely prevalent in the state of Indiana and has been for...
Yeah.
We're the only state in the entire country where somebody ran as a Klansman...
On that platform.
Edward Jackson, look him up. He goes, I'm a Klansman, and won. We're the only state where that effing happened. Indiana. It is awful. And he was from, by the way, he was also from not that particular area, but northern Indiana, by the way. That's where he was born and grew up.
Okay. This is also okay.
By the way, this was in the 20th century, by the way. This wasn't a long time ago. This was within the last 10 years.
Help me out with this. This is a trend. I don't know if this exists everywhere, but this is a trend I've noticed in Indiana.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Paranormal places, often bridges, are associated with clan activity.
Mm-hmm.
You'll often notice, when you're doing dives into, researching an area, you'll often eventually run into, and the clan meets here, and the clan does their ceremonies in this area. To the best of my knowledge, there's not much of a paranormal connection between the clan. Not that they're a group that I know much about, but, Well,
first of all, I'm going to throw that. The clan hates Catholics. By the way, they absolutely hate papies. They like to say this all the particular time. And how much ritualistic shit does the clan do that's bizarre, that's anti-Christian too as well? Calling themselves grand wizards, wearing robes, doing weird occultic marches out there in the woods. That's bizarre. That's bizarre crap.
Well,
Sorry, I just had to get that off my chest because I was
No,
just
it's
super
okay.
annoyed by that.
Like, there is that... Okay.
I would
If there's clan activity in areas where there's a lot of high strangeness, that makes me think of one of two things is occurring. They're doing something to cause high strangeness, or they're gathering in places of high strangeness. I mean, there are other possibilities, but those are the two that immediately jump to mind as being likelihoods. But I don't know a lot about clan ritual, but I don't think they're like out there summoning stuff and like other sort of like hyper occultic activity.
Well, it's not like the person followed him out there for us to get more of the deeper into the story, but I'm just saying, like,
I mean, if you see a bunch of people walking with white robes and carrying a cross, you leave. That is the smart decision.
Way,
I don't think they're safe. And just in case I'm offending any of our listeners who are members of the clan, screw you. I don't care.
I hope that we're offending you.
Yeah, I hope so. You are a bad person. I want you to feel bad.
And I hope that you get eaten by the troll. The Troll Bridge.
I like this argument of the troll is the champion trying to drive off, like, having night raids against the clan and things like that. Also, like, what do trolls hate most elemental-wise?
Oh, I thought you were about to say bells, but...
Well, yes, bells. But
they also hate fire.
Yeah. Trolls hate fire. One of the most consistent pieces of troll lore, enough to even make it into D&D. Mm-hmm. Trolls do not like fire. A lot of stories have trolls being unkillable, except for with fire, things along those lines. And the clan has that tendency to burn crosses, too. So... if you don't like Christians, you don't like fires, and you're a decent person, there's absolutely no reason not to harass the clan.
So, I mean, as far as imagine like some giant troll was living under there. I mean, really, at the end of the day, like, he absolutely, maybe that's the reason why they're actually not messing with your car. Maybe that's the reason why it's just being suddenly assertive more than it should be trying to drive somebody off, is because it's trying to, like, get people out of the area if it knows there might be some dangerous individuals that it needs to be actually eaten out there in the rural parts of Marshall County out there.
This is, oh God, there's so many layers to this.
Troll.
Yes, and I also love trolls. Trolls, okay.
That was me rooting as I eat the clans people.
Yeah. Also, like, I've always been a huge fan of trolls, and it's something like you don't get to investigate much in Indiana.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of figured that there was a chance that I would be so taken with this, we'd talk about it for the full time today, and it looks like that's basically what we did.
Yeah.
Because I love talking about this stuff. And also, like, checking boxes of occultism and bargeist. But, okay. Final?
Yeah.
Are we to final thoughts?
Yeah, let's give our final thoughts. You go first.
You want me to go first? Okay. My first thought is, I think, as the folklore has surfaced on this area, it has done so in a way that's misrepresentative. In this area, what comes to my mind when I hear about, like, Little Egypt and things like that is the Troll Bridge. It's an obscure piece of Indiana folklore. Not a lot of people really know about this. But that's the only thing that I was offhand aware of. I think this is bridged into an area of zone of anomaly, which we do have a lot of zones of anomaly in Indiana, but the weird thing is it's polarized. Most of them are either far up north or far down south, because up north you have the Great Lakes, lots of zones of anomaly around the Great Lakes. Sure. When you go down south, we have the Ohio River Valley. Strangest stuff in America happens in the Ohio River Valley, I freaking swear. So Indiana has, like, this sandwich of strange stuff going on. And I think that this might be somehow connected to that polarization of the bizarre here in Indiana. But definitely, yeah, I think we definitely crested the hill into this is a zone of anomaly.
And the only way that we really got to this point when I was looking at this is by going beyond, like, just looking at the wiki or just listening to a YouTube video.
You got it.
Taking that extra step in reading the comments, because sometimes the comments, like, right from the people, will give you, like, a whole bunch more stories and, like, just put so much more meat on the bone to a story than people will typically realize. Like, without, like, all of this extra stuff that I've added, all of it came from comments from people that people were leaving on different blog posts that I was looking at, YouTube videos that I was looking at, the Cryptid Wiki, like, people like giving their personal accounts and stuff like this. And I just thought that was particularly super interesting.
I'm glad it's grown that way, because, like, when I first started doing my dive into this was about 10 years ago, and the comment sections were not well built. Like, this story hit my radar, and I think hit most people's radar about 10 years ago. And it was kind of a fresh thing that hit hard, but there's almost no information available at the time. And I'm glad that, like, it's grown to where you can find additional information now. I kind of want to go now.
I do too. I mean, it was definitely really interesting. I was looking at a book excerpt on Indiana Cryptids. It was called Indiana Cryptids: Mysterious Monsters in the Hoosier State by Les Odell that came out this year, and this one was thrown out there. I took a chance on searching a little bit more, and it gave. And I'm really glad that I did, because I was able to dive way deeper into this story, and I really had a good time doing it.
Did you have any other final thoughts you wanted to throw out?
No, I mean, I think that was good. I mean, I think really my final thoughts on it are there's probably always more to a story. Keep looking.
Okay, and we'll hit the stuff that I had planned for this segment in the next episode.
Yeah, let's do that. So if you guys listen to this, if you guys like the episode, leave your guys' thoughts below on what you guys thought. Yeah, absolutely. If you liked the story of the Troll Bridge, if you've heard other accounts of that, if you know of other trolls living under other bridges, please
tell me if you know about that stuff. Yeah. I love that stuff.
Yeah, please let us know. Put that in the comments below. If you like it, leave us a like, leave us a review. Those are great things to you can do to help us. But until next time, guys, keep believing.
Because we'll keep listening.
All right, guys, we're going to slide into the Pillow Talk segment of this podcast. If you want to check out the rest of this awesome podcast, all you have to do is go over to our Patreon and sign up. For as little as $1 a month, you get the rest of this awesome podcast, as well as bonus episodes that we put up exclusively for our patrons. And joining us for the Pillow Talk segment today, we have two special guests.
Two?
Yes, the first one that we have joining us
I act surprised, although can just look at both of them in the studio with us.
As we have Ellie Waitley that is joining us in the studio.
The rare, illustrious Ellie Waitley.
Yep, you tricked me into it again.
Yeah, that's why also you don't have camera, because the only way we could get Ellie to come on this morning is turning off the camera.
I understand. Okay. I am not a huge fan of having myself seen on camera either, so I don't blame you.
I think she just doesn't want to do her hair this morning.
I get it.
I really don't.
Okay. So you said you had some questions for me?
I did. So we were discussing the Bremen Troll story, and during it, I discovered that there was a lot of just weird, bizarre, occulty things that were described in there, and I would love to get your take on it.
Okay.
Particularly one about there were these chicken bones being hung from the trees in a nearby area. And I don't know if you actually caught the part of our podcast where we were talking about that there was like Ku Klux Klan activity in the area as well. And I am really hoping that you're about to tell me that chicken bones will scare away Klansmen, because if that is the case, I will go by KFC on my way home and hang it on my front door.
You know, I wish that was true. I would totally ward our house with KFC, but okay.
The greater ward of the Colonel.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It scares away trolls and clans people.
Yep.
Okay, so it was chicken bones.
Chicken bones being hung. Yep, being hung in a tree near this bridge. Now, keep in mind, I'm gonna go down the list of the paranormal phenomenon in this area: orbs, spirits, shadow people, poltergeists.